Before the world touches you, you must touch your own mind. Each morning is not just a routine, it is a ceremony. You are not just waking up, you are returning to yourself. What you say in that first quiet moment becomes the energy that leads your day. Will you let the world decide your direction, or will you speak truth into your spirit first? Two simple sentences, but they hold the power to shape everything. Every morning, before the outside world begins its pull, there is a sacred window of silence. In that quiet moment, the mind is clear, unburdened by distractions, and open to instruction. It is in this space that the seeds of the day are planted, not by chance, but by conscious choice. The first thing you say to yourself becomes the compass by which your energy travels. If you declare strength, resilience, and clarity, your inner world begins to reflect that truth. What lives within you will begin to shape what happens around you. The thoughts you allow take root and grow. So, instead of waiting to see how the day unfolds, you begin it with intention. You step into the role of the observer, the guide, the cultivator of your own energy. That is the first act of inner mastery. You are not what happens to you. You are how you respond to what happens. This realization separates the reactive from the conscious. In every situation, no matter how chaotic, you still own your breath. You own your words, your pace, your silence. The external may trigger, but it does not have to command. To remind yourself each morning that your inner world belongs to you is a form of self-respect. When you take full ownership of your mental and emotional landscape, you no longer fear circumstances. You become grounded, like a mountain that does not tremble at the wind. The storms may come, but you are no longer lost in them. Many people wake up and reach for their phone before their own seat. They scroll, they compare, they absorb the noise of a world that rarely celebrates stillness. But you choose differently. You begin with presence, with a thought that centers you. I am the master of my inner world is not just a sentence, it's a declaration of alignment. It is a message to your nervous system that you are not here to be tossed around by emotion. You do not serve impulse, you channel it. You do not obey fear, you understand it. When you say those words, you re-enter yourself. In that daily reminder, there is freedom. Not the freedom that is handed to you by others, but the kind you earn through discipline and awareness. Your mind, when left unmanaged, can become a storm, but when guided, it becomes a sanctuary. Each morning, you must decide, will you allow thoughts to lead you, or will you lead them? This question is the beginning of awakening. You are not the chaos. You are the stillness that watches it. And when you train that stillness, it becomes a source of peace that cannot be taken. This peace becomes your strength. In the still hours of the morning, your words hold power. Before doubt creeps in, before comparison starts to speak, before noise begins its climb, this is your moment. Here, you speak your truth into the day. And the truth is this, you carry within you the ability to choose your mindset, regardless of what lies ahead. No one else controls your perspective unless you allow it. When you claim the role of inner architect, you are no longer waiting for circumstances to define you. You are defining your direction before the world can interrupt. That is your sacred duty. The storms that rise in life are not the problem. It is our reaction that either magnifies or dissolves them. When you remember each morning that your power lies within, you stop fearing the outside. You don't seek peace in others because you have already found it in yourself. There is no need to prove, defend, or chase. From this grounded place, your choices become aligned. Your energy is no longer scattered. You do not drain yourself by chasing validation. You know what you are anchored in, and that becomes your source. Mastery begins not with control, but with awareness. And awareness begins with stillness. That stillness is available to you every single morning. It is not something you must earn. It is something you must return to. In that stillness, you hear your true voice, the one not shaped by fear or opinion or insecurity, the one that simply knows. And when you tell yourself, I am the master of my inner world, you are speaking from that place, a place beyond noise, a place where confidence is not loud but steady, and where peace is not found but remembered. Your inner world is a reflection of your practice, If your practice is one of intentionality, then your emotions do not rule you. They inform you. You begin to use every trigger, every challenge as an invitation back to your center. You stop labeling things as good or bad. Instead, you see them as part of your unfolding. That clarity brings power because it removes resistance. When you say that you are the master of your inner world, it doesn't mean you never fall. It means you rise with presence, with acceptance, with conscious response. You remain unmoved even as you move forward. There is a kind of quiet strength that comes from inner order, a strength that does not react but responds with precision. That strength is not built in the loud moments but in the silent ones. The quiet choice to observe instead of attack, to reflect instead of collapse, to breathe instead of lash out. These are the small, invisible victories that define who you become, and it starts the moment you remind yourself of who you are. Not what the world expects, not what fear suggests, but what your inner voice knows, calm, aware, unshakable. This is why every morning matters. It is not just another sunrise. It is a sacred beginning, a reset for your being, a chance to align your intention with your actions. And it starts with a sentence that centers you, that reminds you of the ground beneath your feet, the breath in your body, the clarity in your mind. You don't need to conquer the world. You only need to return to the place where nothing external defines you. That place is built with presence and claimed with truth, and it is always within your reach. Each morning carries with it the quiet promise of a new beginning. It doesn't matter what yesterday looked like, whether it was full of failure, frustration, or regret. The moment the sun rises, life gives another invitation to begin again. You are not bound by who you were the day before. Growth is not linear. It is layered and often disguised as repetition. The strength of transformation lies in this single decision to rise and choose differently. Every day is a blank page, and the pen is in your hand. You do not need permission to evolve. You only need presence. And in that presence, you remember the power of a fresh start. What you carry from yesterday is a choice. You can hold on to pain, or you can hold on to purpose. You can cling to the weight of old habits, or you can step into the lightness of change. The past is a lesson, not a prison. It is only there to inform, not to define. So when you rise, look forward, not because you ignore what's behind you, but because you are no longer ruled by it. The pain was real, but so is the possibility. You are not here to relive cycles. You are here to rewrite them. And each morning, you are handed that chance, without condition. That alone is sacred. To begin again is not weakness, it is wisdom. It takes great courage to release the identity built around survival. It takes strength to say, that no longer serves me. Many cling to familiar suffering because it feels safe, even when it isn't fulfilling. But the truth is, noti, nang will ever shift until you do. And each day offers you that small window of reinvention. No one else may see it. The world may look the same, but inside, today you're planting something new. A new thought, a new boundary, a new intention. And that tiny act becomes the root of transformation. There is no rule that says you must carry guilt into the next chapter. Mistakes are not meant to be chains. They are signals that you are alive, learning, and evolving. Growth is not perfection. It's the willingness to keep showing up again and again. Even when you fall, even when it hurts, even when no one applauds. That quiet consistency of choosing to rise each day is where your true strength lives, not in loud declarations, but in soft determination, the kind that says, today I begin again. And in that choice, you honor the sacred rhythm of becoming. The world may not change overnight, but you can. Not by force, but by alignment. When you open your eyes and remind yourself that this is a new chance, you break the illusion that you are stuck. You are not stuck. You are standing in a moment of decision. Every action from this point forward can be shaped by vision instead of memory. You are not here to repeat the past. You are here to rise from it. And you do that by showing up to the present with your full attention, not distracted by fear, not caught in comparison, but rooted in awareness and forward movement. It doesn't matter how many times you have failed before. The number of times you've fallen is irrelevant when you choose to get up one more time. Each sunrise is a quiet reminder that life believes in your ability to begin again. You are not behind. You are not late. You are right on time for your transformation. The version of you that you are becoming needs this moment, not the one before. So speak to yourself with compassion, not criticism, with courage, not hesitation. This is not about proving anything. It is about honoring your own capacity to renew. Forgiveness is part of beginning. Now again, not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. For the times you knew better but didn't act. For the moments you stayed silent when your heart wanted to speak. For the ways you dimmed your own light. Let it go. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more than your mistakes. When you release what no longer serves, you make space for what truly does. And in that space, something new can grow. Something honest, strong, and rooted in truth. But it begins with grace. The kind you give to yourself. There will be voices, internal and external, that try to remind you of who you used to be. But you are not obligated to answer to the version of yourself that no longer aligns with your vision. Let them talk. Let the doubts echo, but let your actions speak louder. You're not interested in being who you were. You're interested in who you are becoming. And that becoming happens in the choices you make when no one's watching, in the quiet personal decisions that no one celebrates. But you know, and that knowing is enough to keep going. You do not need a dramatic shift to begin again. You only need a small, honest step. One decision to choose peace over chaos. One choice to breathe before reacting. One commitment to speak kindly to yourself instead of harshly. These small changes, when repeated, become a new pattern. And that pattern becomes a lifestyle. So start small. Start simple. Start where you are, with what you have. But start. That is the essence of transformation, not perfection, but repetition, not intensity, but consistency, one sunrise at a time. You are the author of your internal narrative, and that story can change the moment you decide it will. There is no rule that says you have to be the same person today that you were yesterday. You are not cement, you are clay, moldable, alive, and able to reshape with intention. So when the morning comes, remind yourself of the truth. You are allowed to begin again, not because you failed, but because you're evolving. And with each new beginning, you step closer to the life that reflects your highest self, not by waiting, but by choosing. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, when in reality, it is the most profound form of liberation. It is the structure that gives you freedom, not by chaining you down, but by guiding your energy toward what truly matters. Without discipline, the mind becomes scattered, pulled in 100 directions, and never grounded. But with discipline, the chaos is calmed, and focus becomes a companion. In the stillness of the early morning, when the world hasn't yet demanded your attention, you have a chance to reclaim control, to rise not because you feel like it, but because you've chosen to. That choice builds integrity. It becomes the quiet power that follows you throughout the day, and in that power, you discover who you truly are beneath distraction. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it's uncomfortable, you are reinforcing your inner strength. You begin to trust yourself, not because of grand victories, but because of small, consistent follow-through. The commitment to wake up with intention, to act in alignment with your values, becomes a sacred contract with yourself. The mind may resist, the body may protest, but the soul knows that structure is safety. Not the kind that limits your expression, but the kind that allows your deepest truth to emerge. Through discipline, you protect your energy. You decide where your time flows and what it nurtures. There is no freedom in impulsiveness. True liberation lies in conscious direction. When you move through the day without intention, you are vulnerable to the demands and opinions of others. But when you anchor yourself in discipline, you rise with clarity. You are not here to drift. You are here to move with purpose. That purpose does not have to be loud or dramatic. It can be quiet, steady, and deliberate. The decision to meditate, to train, to focus, to rest, each becomes a ritual that returns you to your path. You are not waiting for motivation to strike. You are not relying on inspiration to act. You act because you said you would, and in that repetition, you shape your character. There is beauty in doing what is difficult, in facing the resistance within you and choosing to move anyway. That is how resilience is formed, not through ease, but through repeated effort. Each time you show up, especially when you don't want to, you are chiseling away what is false and uncovering what is real. Discipline removes illusion. It reveals how much you are capable of when you stop entertaining excuses. The stories the mind tells, of fatigue, of doubt, of failure, lose their grip when met with consistent action. You learn to hear those thoughts without obeying them, and in that, you rise. The quiet pride of keeping your own word is unlike any external praise. It's not about applause or recognition. It's about the strength that builds from within when you choose growth over comfort. That strength becomes a presence, an energy that others feel, even if they can't explain it. It's the confidence of someone who knows their path and is committed to walking it. Discipline creates stability. In a world that is ever-changing, your rituals become your roots. They ground you when things feel uncertain. They remind you that consistency is power, not in flashes, but in foundation. There will always be temptations to avoid what you know is right. The mind will find reasons to delay, to distract, to choose ease over effort. But discipline is the voice that reminds you who you're becoming. It pulls you away from temporary satisfaction and into long-term alignment. Every time you say no to what weakens you and yes to what strengthens you, you are shaping a future you can trust. This process may feel slow, progress may be invisible, but discipline isn't about speed, it's about direction. It ensures that each step is rooted in purpose, not impulse. When you build a life around discipline, you start to notice how much noise you've eliminated. The need to chase validation fades. The craving for constant stimulation softens. You begin to enjoy simplicity. You begin to appreciate silence because you no longer need chaos to feel alive. You find aliveness in presence, in practice, in persistence. Discipline frees your attention from scattered distractions and anchors it in what matters most. It is not a punishment. It is a return to essence, the essence of who you are without the clutter, the noise, the confusion. Every morning offers a chance to recommit to this path. It is not about being perfect. It is about being honest. Honest with what you need, what you value, and what actions align with your highest vision. Some days will be harder than others, but discipline doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence, the willingness to show up, to try again, to stay consistent even when no one is watching. That quiet effort compounds. It becomes the invisible architecture behind every visible success, the foundation beneath confidence, the roots beneath transformation. Without discipline, dreams remain ideas. With it, they become reality. The bridge between who you are and who you want to be is built with daily effort, not grand gestures, not occasional inspiration, but the decision to show up every day with intention. That is how trust is built, not just with others, but within yourself. And that trust becomes a source of inner peace, because you know you are moving in alignment. You are no longer hoping to become. You are actively becoming, through structure, through commitment, through deliberate choice. So when the day begins and resistance whispers its familiar song, return to what you've chosen. Return to the path that aligns with your growth. Remind yourself that discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It is the gateway to it. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need perfect conditions. You need only the decision to act. And through that action, you embody strength. The kind that is not shaken by mood or opinion. The kind that is rooted in clarity, repetition, and truth. Gratitude is not just a feeling. It is a practice that transforms the entire lens through which you see the world. It grounds you in the present and shifts your focus from what is missing to what is already here. Each morning, when you choose to say thank you, you are aligning yourself with abundance. You are training the mind to recognize what is working, what is available, what is worthy. The power of this mindset is not in denial of difficulty, but in balance. Gratitude doesn't ignore pain. It simply refuses to let pain become the whole story. In this space of appreciation, you stop waiting to be happy and start allowing yourself to be fulfilled now. It is the quiet courage to see beauty where others see lack. It is the root from which resilience, peace, and presence grow. There is something sacred about waking up and recognizing the miracle in something as simple as breath. The chest rising, the heart beating, the mind awakening to another opportunity. These are not small things. These are the foundations of life that too often go unnoticed. In the rush to do more, be more, and have more, it's easy to miss the truth that you are already surrounded by gifts. Gratitude invites you to slow down, to look again, to realize that every day you open your eyes is a chance to create, to grow, to connect. You don't need to wait for something extraordinary to feel blessed. You are already living inside the extraordinary, the body, the breath, the now. Gratitude trains the mind to see beyond the surface. When practiced daily, it rewires the neural pathways to focus on sufficiency rather than scarcity. What once felt like a lack becomes a lesson. What once felt like a burden becomes a teacher. You begin to notice how life is constantly offering something, whether clarity, closure, or growth. Even challenges become portals to deeper awareness when viewed through the lens of appreciation. This doesn't mean romanticizing struggle. It means recognizing that every moment has value if you're willing to look deeply. Gratitude sharpens perception and softens the ego. It reduces entitlement and amplifies humility. And in humility, real strength is born. When you begin your day from a place of gratitude, you elevate your vibration before the world has a chance to lower it. You don't wait for the perfect moment to feel thankful. You create the moment by choosing to see the gift in what already exists. That choice becomes a filter through which the rest of the day flows. It becomes harder to complain, harder to criticize, harder to spiral into negativity when your internal dialogue is rooted in thanks. You speak differently, you listen differently, you move differently. The energy of gratitude expands your capacity to receive with grace and give with sincerity. It becomes a quiet superpower in a world trained to chase. There is a quiet clarity that gratitude brings. It dissolves the fog of comparison. You no longer look sideways to measure your worth because you're too busy appreciating your own path. You realize that what you have may not be everything, but it is enough for now, enough to learn, enough to heal, enough to begin. In that realization, jealousy fades, envy softens. You no longer need to compete with others when you've made peace with your own journey. Gratitude gives you ownership of your present. It allows you to walk in alignment rather than anxiety, to move from centeredness rather than scarcity. Gratitude is not about settling. It is not complacency or resignation. It is a foundation upon which real ambition can be built. Because when you are grateful for what you have, you pursue more from a place of inspiration, not desperation. Your goals become expressions of joy rather than cries for validation. You are no longer running from emptiness. You are creating from fullness. This subtle shift changes everything. Your work becomes more intentional, your relationships more compassionate, your challenges more manageable. Gratitude doesn't remove the mountain, it strengthens your legs to climb it. Sometimes, gratitude is as simple as whispering thank you to the silence. Thank you to the lessons you didn't want but needed. Thank you to the detours that led to clarity. Thank you to the pauses that felt like endings but were actually space for healing. Gratitude lets you honor the complexity of life without being defeated by it. It invites you to hold both joy and sorrow without judgment. It teaches you that you can be grateful and grieving, grateful and growing, grateful and still uncertain. There is no contradiction, only deeper layers of being present. Practicing gratitude in the morning sets the tone for how you treat others throughout the day. You become more patient, more present, more open. The world responds differently when you move through it with appreciation instead of expectation. People feel seen, not used. Conversations deepen, conflicts soften. Gratitude makes you a mirror of presence, reflecting not just what people do for you, but who they are. It creates a subtle ripple of connection, a generosity of spirit, and that generosity returns to you, not always in form, but always in feeling. There is always something to be thankful for, even on the hardest days. Even when nothing looks the way you wanted it to, there's still breath, still life, still the ability to choose how you respond. Gratitude reminds you that control is not in outcomes, it's in perspective. And perspective is everything. The lens you choose determines the story you live. Gratitude doesn't guarantee ease, but it ensures meaning. It doesn't erase struggle, but it offers peace within it. It becomes the anchor when life gets heavy, a whisper of truth when the noise is loud.